On this episode of the Quiet Storm Boxing, we're going to do it a little different. Today, I'm going to give you a story, and this story is about me and my boxing days, so we can get this out of the way early. Stay tuned. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Quiet Storm Boxing. It's your boy Abdullah Johnson. Today, I'm going to tell you a story. This story goes back to 2010. It's 9 years ago. The last year that I actually stepped in the ring. Okay, and there's a whole story behind that goes back even further. So we're gonna start off like this. I started boxing at an older age. I was already out of high school. Off and on, I would go to the gym because my brother Mustafa boxed, and he went to the gym. I was a guy who followed behind my brother when it came to sports. I was pretty good at other sports, team sports. I was okay, but since my brother wrestled, I wrestled. You know what I'm saying? I became a good wrestler. I became a city champion and a guy who was ranked third in the state at one particular time in high school. And, you know, I never loved wrestling, but I just got good at it, and I loved being around the guys, so I did it. And after that, after high school, I started boxing. And then it wasn't until years later when I really took it serious, even after that. And that's when I met my coach, Coach Ali, who really taught me how to box and not just fight. I had so many trainers before that who would teach me how to fight and be a good fighter. And I'm a dog, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm from the roughest parts of the city, of my city. And, I always had that dog in me. So boxing was something that I gravitated to. It's something that I always loved. My father was in martial arts and my brother boxed. So it was only natural that I became a boxer. But the story that I want to tell today takes place when I was in the U.S. Navy. Now, I'm a former all-Navy boxer, and I mean a real all-Navy boxer, not a guy who boxed on the ship in the Navy, smokers. I mean like a real all-Navy boxer, all-Navy boxing team. I have 2 silver medals individually, and I have a team medal, silver. And that team medal, I was one of the more experienced guys on that team, and we set out for gold, and we fell short going into that last day. The Army was just, man, they were just too deep, too tough, too many studs on that team, man, too many great boxers, great coach, just a great system, and just to be able to compete with them was an honor and a privilege. But we fell short of that gold and got silver. So I got 3 silver medals. But this story is about my last silver medal, right? So 2010, mind you, August 2009, I'm done with boxing. Really, April 2009, I'm done with boxing. I lost in the finals of the Armed Forces. A close fight that I didn't feel like I lost, but I just felt like, I put in so much work, and I just feel like I'm trying to be respectful. I just felt like the decision wasn't right, but I didn't want to cry and complain about it because he did come on strong, and I faded in that fight, so, it was no robbery involved. But I just felt like, I don't even want to do this no more. I put in so much work. I worked so hard that year, and we had a great team, great chemistry, people who are still my brothers to this day. I mean, little Justin Diaz, my boy Paul Queen's son. You know what I'm saying? My boy Ben Dobbs, who was my brother way before the Navy. You know what I'm saying? Javon, Big Javon, that's my dog. He crazy. Everybody, right? So we all did real good, and we all medaled, and we all went to nationals, and we just had a ball, right? But I felt like, I just didn't want to box no more after that heartbreaking loss in the finals. I was getting older, and this girl from back home who was a bugaboo in the beginning her shit was starting to make sense to me, and, I was ready to slow down. Didn't want to be juggling women anymore. You know what I'm saying? I decided to settle down later on that year. I never really even looked at it like that. That fight really put everything in perspective. Like, do I really want to do this? Because I really had to take it serious. I should have went pro 5, 6 years ago if I was going to take it serious. But 5, 6 years ago, I don't think I was good enough to be a professional. I mean, maybe to beat the average Joe from Kokomo, but I'm talking about to be a big dog. You know what I'm saying? So that fight just really put things in perspective. And I decided, it's time to grow the fuck up. And I went back home. Spontaneously, married my girlfriend back. I had one in every city. Don't tell nobody. Once you get married and start having children, things change, man. You look at life a lot different. It's like life really begins. Boxing was the furthest from my mind. All right, I have fought after that in the Nationals in 2009. I fought the same guy, I think. I didn't really care about that fight. I halfway trained for that fight. The last fight that I really trained for was the Armed Forces in 2009. So, fast forward to the next year. Every year that you go for the Armed Forces boxing, the All Navy boxing team, you have to put in your paperwork, right? It has to be routed up throughout your chain of command. Now, being at this, I have done this several years and medaled several years and been in front of the command, receiving medals, and everybody on the base knows who I am and what I do, and pictures on base and things like that. They knew who I was and they knew what I did. So when it came, I think I got a little arrogant. When it came time to route my paperwork, I had missed the deadline. Come to find out, the Navy had a new athletic director. Well, I had no idea. We have a district athletic director who I deal with, but this was the athletic director for all of Navy sports. And I missed the deadline. Let me backtrack. The Navy boxing coach, Steve Carvajal, at that time, wanted me to come back. And I told him, listen, life is different, man. I'm a married man. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking about getting out of the Navy. I'm not about to be on deployments. You know what I'm saying? Away from my family. I don't want to come back. I don't even want to box no more. And it's almost like he didn't hear me. Because whenever I was done explaining this to him, he tried to talk me to coming back to the team. But I wasn't with that, man. And we went back and forth for weeks. And that's another reason why my paperwork was late. So finally I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it for you. And when your heart is not in it, you shouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? My heart wasn't in boxing. I wasn't training. I wasn't boxing anymore. The season was out. It's not a boxing season, but we were away from the team. I was back in Central California as opposed to Southern California. And I wasn't training. I didn't care about boxing. I still watch boxing. I still love boxing. Hotline. But I wasn't thinking about boxing. So I wrote my paperwork. It's late. Okay, let me backtrack. So in order for me to go boxing, not only does my paperwork have to go all the way up chain of command to my commanding officer, I also did not work on base with the rest of the squadron. I was separated. I was what they call TAD, temporary assigned duty, to another part of the base. I was totally away from them, doing something totally different with a whole new group of people. And I had to let them know what I was going to do. They had to talk with my commanding officer. They had their little chit chat. Everybody approved it. I still didn't want to go, mind you. I still didn't want to go. So my paperwork gets routed. It goes all the way up to my commanding officer. My commanding officer looks at it, signs off on it. He already know who I am. He already know what's up. Boom. I'm good to go. Going back to Southern California. At the very least, even though I don't want to box no more, at least I can have fun in the sun, look at some beautiful palm trees and some beautiful people, and just have a ball like I always do. But this new athletic director, not forget his name, but he ain't worth the Google. So he had different plans. He told me that, hey, check this out. Your paperwork is late, so maybe you can try next year. And he said it with such a, excuse me, I don't want to say it. He said it with such an attitude. He said it so matter of fact, direct, like, who are you? Well, maybe next year. It really pissed me the hell off. You know what I'm saying? Now, if he would have been a little more sympathetic, empathetic, and said, listen, sorry, but your paperwork is late. You know what I mean? I know you've done this before. I know who you are, but we're going to have to deny you this time, and maybe you can come back again next year. I would say, you know what? I didn't want to go anyway. And, I appreciate the offer, and, everything happens for a reason, and I'm getting out the Navy. That's what I would have said. But since he was such a asshole about it, I decided to get payback. And for those of you who know me, know that I am slick. You know what I'm saying? My best friend, Mr. Tim Hunt, calls me the puppet master. I will put two people against each other. You know what I'm saying? Growing up in the hood, I can rob you and help you look for the dude who robbed you. You know what I'm talking about? So I said, okay, that's what's up. Mind you, my command already signed off on this. So I can't go to my commanding officer and say, hey, sir, I know you said I can go, but I messed up and didn't turn my paperwork in time, so I can't go. In front of my whole command and everybody looking at me like I'm stupid. So I didn't have the balls to go and tell her. So what I did was, I didn't tell him. Not only that, I didn't tell the people who I work for, who I was TAD to, temporary assigned duty. I didn't tell nobody. But what I did do is call my coach, Mr. Steve Carvajal, put in that phone call like, yo, check this out. Steve, coach, yeah, they're not letting me come down. They said I turned my paperwork in late. Now, why did I do that? Because I know that the Navy boxing coach will call the Navy athletic director. But I know the Navy boxing coach, who is a civilian who has never been in the Navy, will not call my command. He will have an athletic director call my command. So once he talks to the athletic director will confirm what I just told him, and I'm scot-free. Now, what do I mean by scot-free? Since this athletic director want to talk so slick on the phone, I decided to play him. What I did was, my commanding officer signed off on it. The Navy boxing team thinks I'm at my command. My command thinks I'm on the Navy boxing team. Where my black ass was at home partying for 2-3 months straight. Didn't care about nothing. And just remember, I was going to stay there and be cool with not going until this dude decided to talk slick on the phone. So what I did was just went home and partied. So for everybody in Naptown who saw me out and about when they knew I lived in California or they knew I was in the Navy, and when you saw me frequently, that's why you saw me frequently, because this ain't the first time I did that. But I would always come home for like 2-3 months at a time, putting people against each other, having my command thinking I'm on a boxing team, having a boxing team think I'm at my command, but the whole time I was at home. Do you have any idea how much trouble you can get into? That is AWOL. That is fed time almost. That is, that is, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't think about that. I didn't care about that because I just know I'm smarter than them. That's arrogant, but it's the truth. I just know that it's not about me being smarter. Here's a lesson in life. When a person thinks he's smarter than you, you always have the advantage over him. Don't compete with him. Don't go back and forth with him and say, hey, I'm just as smart as you. No, make him believe he's smarter than you. That way you can always play him. You know what I mean? Anytime a person thinks he's smarter than you, you will always be able to play him because his arrogance, his ego, you know what I'm saying, will enable you to get the victory. You know what I mean? And this new Navy athletic director, I knew he's Navy athletic director, probably from the Naval Academy. Think about how arrogant these dudes are. They think they're the smartest people in the world anyway. So I just let him talk, talking all reckless on the phone. I said, all right, bet. So for like 60 and 90 days, I was at home partying. Didn't give a damn about no boxing, no Navy boxing or anything. I love my time in the Navy. I love my brothers on the Navy boxing team more specific. But I didn't care about that stuff, man. Come on, man. You messing with the wrong one. You know who I am and where I'm from. You know how I get down, then you know that you should never try to play me. But that's part one.